Chapter 371. Dancing on tiptoe is too romantic. Lin Che lost her balance and almost fell. Thankfully, Gu Jingze grabbed Lin Che and prevented her from falling. Lin Che nearly thought that she was going to die. The crowd noticed that the two of them stopped dancing and they curiously looked at them. She thought speechlessly, I'm dead, I'm dead. This is so embarrassing. She danced until her heel actually broke in front of so many people. She suddenly recalled her incident with Lu Chusha just now. Although she was fine, her heel probably got damaged when she used it to step on Lu Chusha. She didn't realize it back then and now, it was completely broken. Lin Che said agonizingly, damn it. What do we do? Gu Jingze frowned, looked at Lin Che, and then looked at the people around them. Lin Che said, let's quickly go. This is really embarrassing. But Gu Jingze stopped her, don't move. Lin Che paused. Gu Jingze grabbed hold of Lin Che and said, we'll continue dancing. Huh, but I. Gu Jingze bent down, took off her shoes and tossed them aside. She was still stunned as she stood barefoot, but Gu Jingze already pulled her arms and placed her on his own feet. Ah. Lin Che stood on his feet and he placed his hand firmly behind her back, bringing her right to his body. Lin Che was practically sticking to him. She couldn't help but cling onto his shoulders tightly. Looking at his face up close, she blushed uncontrollably, this won't do. So many people are looking. It must have looked ridiculous with her leaning entirely on him. Gu Jingze asked, what's wrong? Why would there be a problem with my wife leaning on me? No, Lin Che blushed even more. Talking like that, her lips were almost touching his as their breaths synchronized. It was too heartwarming. Gu Jingze said, it's all right. We'll dance ourselves. But won't you be tired? Lin Che looked at him worriedly. Your small body and legs are not heavy for me. But is this considered dancing? How is hugging you to dance not dancing anymore? And I like it this way. Compared to just now, this is a lot better, he chuckled deviously. Lin Che moved and her soft chest bumped into his body. She felt as if her face was going to explode. Sticking to him, she might as well have buried her face into his chest. Gu Jingze hugged her this way and spun around. Seeing her reddened face, he followed the music and hugged her waist. He lifted her up and flung her around in the air before pulling her back to him. Lin Che felt as if she was flying. She yelped as she felt herself come back down on his steady feet. She was amazed and couldn't resist bursting into laughter. That was a great feeling. Still want to fly? I want to fly. Okay, Gu Jingze flung her again. Lin Che's long dress flowed beautifully like a trail of petals. The onlookers exclaimed even more. Looking at the husband and wife on the dance floor, they seemed to treat this place as their own playground. They were so carefree as they played around without any stress. The people around them were envious. Especially when Gu Jingze used his strength to make Lin Che fly in the air, it made all the women feel that it was too romantic. He even let Lin Che step on his own feet. This was simply too beautiful. The usually cold and aloof man was now so romantic. It really amazed people. Lin Che only danced for a little while. She was worried that Gu Jingze would feel tired. She hugged his shoulders and felt her heart almost burst just from dancing with him for such a brief time. It was not because of anything else, but when she looked at Gu Jingze, she thought that he looked so good at any angle. Especially when he hugged her so confidently, it was beyond sexy. She gazed at Gu Jingze, come on. Let's stop. You must be tired. Gu Jingze replied, if I only have this much strength, how can I satisfy your needs? Lin Che glared at him. Thinking that he was really tired, she simply couldn't bear for him to continue hugging her like that. She said, and I'm thirsty. Gu Jingze heard this, stopped, and tugged her along, okay. Come, I'll take you. His feet supported her as they moved to the side of the dance floor. An attendant had already brought another pair of shoes for Lin Che automatically. Lin Che wore the shoes and Gu Jingze helped her up. They walked in together. Steven approached them. He looked at Gu Jingze and clapped. He complimented, President Gu's dance with Mrs. Gu just now really made countless girls here hopeful. Lin Che was shy. Gu Jingze said plainly, I was only playing around with my wife. I hope we weren't being laughed at by everyone. No way. Didn't you see that astonishing scene? Honestly, so many people were clapping for you too. How could Lin Che have seen that? Thinking about it now, she wondered if they attracted too much attention. Gu Jingze smiled. I am being laughed at. Steven then said, there's an ambassador from M Nation over there. He has been wanting to meet President Gu. I wonder if you have the time now to go greet him. Gu Jingze heard this, looked at Lin Che, and was about to reject him. However, Lin Che quickly said, it's okay. You can go over. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che, I can also see him later. I'll wait around here for you. Go do your thing. Lin Che really didn't want to become a burden. Gu Jingze looked at her deeply and then said, okay, wait for me here. Lin Che smiled as she watched him leave. Gu Jingze went in and Lin Che got bored. She looked around at everyone else who was still dancing to the music, drinking, and eating. She also took a drink from a waiter. She thought about her stomachache in the day and only asked for a soda. She didn't dare to try any other weird concoction. Just then, she saw that the voting section for the dancing queen was already white hot. Lin Che heard some people discussing beside her. Lu Chusha suddenly said that her leg hurt and couldn't dance anymore. She only danced for that short while. I guess she would have to back out of this regretfully. But I just voted for that girl who danced with Gu Jingze. She's not a good dancer, but it was really too romantic when she danced with Gu Jingze. My heart almost melted and I think she is the true dancing queen. How good must it be to be doted on? She didn't even have to dance on her own. I'm so envious. Yes, now that you say it, I want to vote for her too. Lin Che nearly spat her drink as she looked up. Sure enough, she was already placed in front. However, they only named her as Gu Jingze's partner. Most of them didn't know who she was, so they didn't mention her name. Lin Che watched suspiciously. She couldn't believe this. Meanwhile, inside, Lu Chusha's ankle was swollen. She sat there angrily and looked at her own foot. Why is it like this? I'm so mad. I didn't even dance that much and it's already like this. The doctor patiently said beside her, Miss Lu, you definitely cannot continue to dance right now. If the congestion becomes more serious, you may have to go to a hospital for treatment. Lu Chusha wanted to cry. She was so sure that she would get the dancing queen title, she waited so long for it. Chapter 372. That man turned out to be Lu family's old sir. Lu Chusha sat there as she thought and thought. She thought about Lin Che. All of this is Lin Che's fault. She must have done it on purpose. She intentionally stepped on me and she also intentionally made Gu Jingze dance with her. She is really cunning. I only told her about the dancing queen just now and she already cooked up a plan sneakily from behind. Lu Chusha stood up from the chair and said to her attendants, you guys, come with me. The doctor wanted to say something. But as he remembered that this was Lu Chusha, he didn't dare to stop her. Lin Che was still there looking at the dancing queen votes when Lu Chusha was already stomping over angrily. Lin Che, she called out Lin Che's name. Her eyes were fired up and she simply wanted to tear Lin Che apart. If Lin Che didn't come in the middle, Gu Jingze would have already been hers. But now, she lost so much because of this woman. Lin Che saw Lu Chusha approach. Although she tried her best to look stable, it was still obvious that she couldn't walk normally. Lin Che thought about her foot. She looked down to see that Lu Chusha's foot was indeed swollen beyond recognition. Lin Che looked back up at the menacing Lu Chusha. Lu Chusha scoffed, Lin Che, look what you've done. Lin Che asked mindlessly, what does that have to do with me? Lu Chusha shrieked, you have the cheek to say that it has nothing to do with you. Just look at my leg. It's in this state because of you. Now that my leg has a problem, don't try to shirk the responsibility. Lin Che looked at Lu Chusha and said airily, you stuck your foot out and tried to trip me. You're only reaping what you sow now. How is that my fault? Lu Chusha laughed coldly, yes, I did stick my foot out, but I didn't do it on purpose. I was just warming up my ankle. You were the one who stepped on me on purpose and wanted to harm me. You even fell on purpose in front of Gu Jingze. You're clearly shirking responsibility. Lin Che listened in amusement as Lu Chusha twisted the story. And she twisted it until it seemed so natural. Lin Che couldn't help but hand it to Lu Chusha. Whether that is true or not, Gu Jingze also already said that we'll know once we see the surveillance footage, Lin Che remarked. Lu Chusha scoffed even more. Do you think that I'm afraid of watching the surveillance footage? Lin Che, aren't you too naive? What do you think one surveillance footage means to me? I am the young mistress of the Lu family and you are nothing. Now that you've hurt my precious body, I want you to compensate me. Nobody can argue with that. Lin Che watched as Lu Chusha lifted her head and told the attendants, grab a hold of this person. I want to send her to C Nation's police. She hurt me and injured my body. I must see to this matter. The few attendants looked at her and then at Lin Che. They didn't dare to approach Lin Che. This was Gu Jingze's wife. If they did anything bad, how could Gu Jingze let them off? Lu Chusha stood there and asked, what are you doing? Do you belong to the Lu family or the Gu family now? The Lu family doesn't need cowards like you guys. Do you still dare to hesitate at a time like this? Do none of you want to continue working? No, miss. The attendants quickly replied and could only harden themselves. They approached Lin Che and looked at her. Miss Lin, please come with us to the police. Lin Che was of course unwilling. She glared at Lu Chusha. What evidence do you have to claim that I did it? I'm not going if you have no evidence. You can explain it to the police yourself. Now, don't think about running away. Lu Chusha waved her hand and let the attendants take her away. However, at this moment, Chusha, what are you doing? Behind, a deep voice sounded. Lu Chusha froze. She turned around and she instantly looked down and called, Father. It was Lu Chusha's father, Lu Chinyu. Lin Che looked up, stunned. She suddenly thought that this person looked familiar. She immediately recalled. Wasn't he the old man whom she bumped into outside the washroom? How did he turn out to be Lu Chusha's father? Lin Che's heart felt congested. They were so different. Lu Chusha looked at her father and was a lot more obedient. Father, why are you here? Lu Chinyu got wind that Lu Chusha brought a few attendants to look for Gu Jingze's wife, so he hurried over. He glared at Lu Chusha with his hands in front of him. What are you fooling about this time? Lu Chusha quickly said, Father, do you see my foot? That little slut just stepped on it now. Of course, I wanted an explanation. Please speak up for me. Don't you see, since when have I been bullied by anyone like this? Lu Chinyu looked down at her ankle and looked back up at Lin Che. The moment he saw Lin Che, he also froze. He narrowed his eyes and took a few steps forward. Looking at Lin Che, he said in surprise, You're Gu Jingze's wife. Lin Che nodded. You are the Lu family's old sir. Lu Chusha looked at the two of them and suddenly felt that something was not right. But then, her father smiled as he approached Lin Che. He beamed and said, I was wondering where you came from since I haven't seen you before. I thought you were some family's lass. It turns out that you're Gu Jingze's newly wedded wife. We're not newly wedded. We've been married for a long time. Lin Che shook her head. Oh, right. Are you okay now, sir? I'm fine. I told you that I'm okay. You don't need to worry. Lu Chinyu looked closely at Lin Che. I really didn't expect you to be that well-hidden wife of Gu Jingze's. We're not exactly hiding either. He just doesn't like to come out that much. Yes, he doesn't. I only see him once in a blue moon. Lu Chusha was already angrily standing behind them, wanting to stomp her foot. This Lin Che, had she already met her father? Why was her father even talking to her with this attitude? Lu Chusha was enraged and she said, Father, do you see what she did to me just now? Aren't you going to speak up for me? Lu Chinyu looked at Lu Chusha and frowned. Enough. What happened to your foot? Lu Chusha pointed at Lin Che. She stepped on me and hurt me on purpose. Lu Chinyu didn't quite believe her. He looked at Lin Che and asked, what exactly happened? Lin Che couldn't say anything else in front of him. She sucked it up and said, I accidentally knocked into Miss Lu previously. She said that she stuck her leg out to stretch her ankle, but I didn't see it and I accidentally tripped over her. I stepped on her ankle in the process, so it swelled up. Lu Chinyu heard this and his brows frowned even deeper. Chapter 373, Why must you stand on her side? Lu Chusha heard this and raised her voice agitatedly. What do you mean, accidentally? You stepped on me on purpose. Lin Che replied, I told you that we can always check the surveillance footage to find out what exactly happened. Sir can judge it for himself, but I'm telling the truth. If you want to, so be it. I'm not afraid of you. Enough, Lu Qinyu turned his head and interrupted Lu Chusha. Lu Chusha's face was pitiful. Father. Lu Qinyu's face was filled with anger. Haven't you had enough? Don't be an embarrassment here. Go back and treat your ankle. Lu Chusha exclaimed defiantly, Father, don't tell me you believe that little slut's words instead of mine. Just hear yourself talk. You're so unbecoming of yourself, spewing uncouth words left and right. You'd better go back and reflect on yourself. You are not to come out until you get my permission. Lu Chusha looked at her own father in disbelief. However, she was only fuming in her fit of rage just now. She also felt a tinge of regret after that. Her father had always been strict and she was obedient in front of him. If it wasn't for Lin Che today, she wouldn't have spewed insults like that either. She glared hatefully at Lin Che again. But, father, are you really going to believe her? She was still unwilling to be defeated. She softened her tone and asked again. Lu Qinyu said, I believe her. I already met Lin Che just now and she is a good kid. She wouldn't lie. Lu Chusha could not believe that just one encounter could actually make Lu Qinyu say that Lin Che was a good kid and wouldn't lie. This Lin Che, how did she win over her father? Lu Chusha huffed, turned around, and left. Lin Che watched her leave and still looked especially angry. Her heart warmed thinking about how Lu Qinyu immediately stood on her side. She also felt rather bad. Because of her, there was friction between him and his daughter. It wasn't that nice after all. She quickly said, Sir. It's fine, don't bother about her. I'll let these people make themselves scarce quickly. Thankfully, they didn't really do anything to you. He looked at Lin Che. It's also my fault for not watching over my own daughter and letting her be so arrogant. You must have been frightened. Not at all, I'm actually fine, Lin Che replied. And just now I'll be frank with you. I did step on her on purpose. Lu Qinyu looked at her. Lin Che fidgeted with her hair and said sheepishly, I saw her sticking her leg out to trip me and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to avoid it. So I thought that I might as well step on her, but I didn't think that the effect of my high heel would be so serious. Lu Qinyu heard this and watched her tease her hair. This reminded him of someone else. After being dazed for a while, he then reacted and looked at the lady in front of him. He laughed loudly and said, I see. So, I'm sorry about it. If she wants compensation, I'll compensate her, Lin Che said. But Lu Qinyu shook his head and said, I was not taking sides with you. I know my own daughter. Her character is just this way, she is rash, confrontational, and very vengeful. Thus, I know that she must have done something bad for her to be stepped on like that. Is that so? But Miss Lu is indeed rather impulsive. Yes, but if someone else was in this situation, they wouldn't speak up to explain first. You, little lass, are so honest. I believe you. Thank you, sir, for trusting me. I only felt that there was surveillance footage anyway and she did appear to want to trip me. No matter who believes what, I know that I'm not lying. We could always watch the surveillance footage and it will reveal the truth. I was in the wrong, but I used violence to curb violence. Yes, I know. Mr. Lu. Just then, Gu Jingze walked out from behind and saw Lu Qinyu actually standing there. He couldn't help but be surprised. Lin Che quickly ran to him in a few steps. Gu Jingze took Lin Che's hand and looked at Lu Qinyu. You are. Lu Qinyu beamed and looked at Lin Che. It's nothing. I was just chatting with her. Why, are you afraid that I'll bully her? No, I think she is very interesting and adorable. I didn't expect her to be your wife. You really have such good luck in your love life. Young lady, you are extremely pretty. Gu Jingze heard this and was even more surprised. He looked down at Lin Che and then smiled back at him. Yes, I am very fortunate. Lu Qinyu said, little lass, enjoy your time here with Jingze. Oh right, here is my contact number. Call me if you need anything. You can also come and visit the Lu household if you're free in the future. Don't be like Jingze who is always so busy and occupied. Now that we're all relatives, it is absolutely fine for you to come over. Ah, okay, thank you, Mr. Liu. I'll go to visit when I'm free. Lin Che took the name card from him. Liu Qinyu took one last long look at Lin Che's face. He looked amazed. She was really alike. But she was definitely not her. Lin Che was too young. While he smiled at Lin Che and left. After he left, Gu Jingze then looked down and asked Lin Che, "How did you come to know the Liu family's old sir?" Lin Che said, "Oh, we met outside the washroom previously and he even stood on my side just now." He sent Liu Chusha back to reflect on herself. Is that so? Gu Jingze was puzzled. Why would Mr. Liu side with Lin Che? Lin Che was also naturally curious. Mr. Liu only just got to know me, so why would he help me that way? The Liu family doesn't have to fear the Gu family, right? Everyone complements each other in the business field and we actually have an interdependent relationship. Nobody is afraid of anyone else. So when he sided with you, it was definitely not because you're my wife. Really? Then that is really strange. Lin Che heard this and was even more surprised. Gu Jingze said, "All right. Don't think so much anymore. Let's go back." "Okay, are you done with your thing?" "That's right." Just then, a voice boomed in the hall from out of nowhere. The voting for tonight's dancing queen has ended and tonight's dancing queen is Mr. Gu Jingze's partner, Miss Lin Che. Everyone applauded. This unexpected result was really surprising. However, in recollection, the most unforgettable dance was indeed when Lin Che stepped on Gu Jingze's feet and danced. Lin Che didn't expect the votes for her to be higher than anyone else in such a short period of time. She looked at the front with a stunned expression. Gu Jingze smiled. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze in shock. "It's me. Oh my god, I danced so terribly." Chapter 374. I want to be with you here. You weren't terrible at all. It's just dancing, Gu Jingze said. Lin Che looked at Gu Jingze. This dancing queen title was not for her. It was clearly for Gu Jingze. They were able to be so conspicuous because Gu Jingze put in so much effort to hug her. Lin Che said, "You should be the dancing queen tonight." Gu Jingze said, "I am the king. You are my woman, so that makes you the queen." Ha, you narcissist. Lin Che laughed harder, but she looked at Gu Jingze and silently thought that he was indeed a king. Gu Jingze looked at her, "Silly. If you really want to thank me you can wear that top when we go back tonight." She knew that she shouldn't have opened this can of worms. Both of them hooked arms and quickly walked out. Sure enough, Stephen had already helped change cabins for them. When they went down, Lin Che asked in puzzlement, "Why are we down here?" "We'll sleep downstairs tonight." Gu Jingze spoke mysteriously and they very quickly reached the lower level. The yacht was now cruising through the most beautiful part of the sea. The water was clear and there was an even more beautiful island at the side. Small fishes swam about below. It would have all been visible during the day. It was much darker at night, but when they entered the room, they could see the water outside the reinforced window. Wow, no way, this yacht had such a room. Indeed, it was specially built, he said as he watched Lin Che run over to the window and look out curiously. Gu Jingze smiled and stood behind, watching her enjoy the view. Lin Che had her hands on the window and didn't realize that this man was already coming up to her. He hugged her tightly from behind, teasing the back of her neck and mumbling, "There's another reason why I wanted to switch to this room." "What reason?" "With you here, all I can see are the small fishes outside." As he spoke, he turned her body around. Lin Che turned her head and looked at him. He towered over her and was amazingly strong. "I want to have you by the window," he smiled as his hand already reached out to her. The next day, the two of them didn't stay on the yacht for long. They bade farewell to the yacht's owner and left the place. Lin Che had an enjoyable time. She had seen the luxury of a yacht for the first time and seen the lifestyle of these international wealthy people. When she returned home, she was still thinking that this had really been an interesting retreat. At home. When Lin Che and Gu Jingze returned, the maids at home were also very happy and prepared a feast for both of them. After coming back, Gu Jingze still had work to do and Lin Che rushed to meet the film crew. At the film crew, Gu Jingze had finally returned. Because their schedule was delayed for so long, the team prepared to pick up the pace so that they could meet the screening date for the movie. They had to finish production earlier. Yu Minmin saw that Lin Che was back and updated her with the most recent activities and itinerary. The company didn't give Lin Che a huge itinerary because she needed to film. Thus, they focused everything on Gu Jingze's movie and pushed everything else aside. Gu Jingze saw Lin Che arrive, ran over, and said to her, "You ran off for so many days again." Lin Che retorted, "So did you?" "Yes, so did you leave the crew because I wasn't around?" "Get lost. It wasn't like that." Lin Che glared at him, wanting him to joke less. Gu Jingze laughed out loud and said to her, "Fine, once we're done filming the next few days, I'll take you out shopping." "Forget it. Let's just continue filming. Who is in such a carefree mood to go shopping?" "Silly, it's going to be Paris Fashion Week soon. Don't you want to go see it?" Lin Che heard this and looked up at him. "You've been invited?" "Yes, I've been invited to watch the show." "Then what does that have to do with me? I didn't get invited. Am I supposed to crash the red carpet?" "Dummy, you can come with me. Take it as doing an early promotion for the movie. Have you forgotten that I'm the male lead and you're the female lead this time?" "I'll think about it then." "Seriously, you still need to think about such a rare opportunity. You really have no conscience." Gu Jingze said, "All right, come on. Let's go continue our filming." After Gu Jingze left, Lin Che told Yu Minmin about it. Yu Minmin heard this and was very surprised. "I heard that he is going with the M Nation's royal family to the show. That invitation is not for any ordinary ambassador. It is an invitation for VIPs. If you are able to go with him, it'll definitely be glorious." But Lin Che still didn't really want to go with him. But this was indeed part of her work, so she thought that she was thinking too much. "All right, I'll see when the time comes." Yu Minmin said, "The company also actually helped you contact Paris Fashion Week. However, it is easy to enter the show, so not many big shots go there lest they get called red carpet moochers. They would always occupy the tabloids every year. The company naturally doesn't want to let go of this opportunity, but they're a little worried that this will only tarnish your reputation instead of adding value to you. Thus, they haven't made any decisions yet. If you're going anyway, you might as well go with Gu Jingze." "You're right," Lin Che said. "Okay then, I'll tell Gu Jingze when the time comes." Yang Lingxin watched at the side. "Then, can we all go to Paris too?" Yu Minmin said, "Yes." "Ah, I can go out of the country too. Really, I've never been overseas before." "The company will help prepare the necessary documents. You'll just need to wait." Yang Lingxin walked out happily. Yu Minmin watched her leave and then said to Lin Che, "Did she find those documents after that?" "Yes, she came to our house in the middle of the night. Gu Jingze helped her book a room at the hotel since it was very late. So she stayed at the hotel." Yu Minmin heard this and looked outside worriedly. However, she didn't really take it to heart. After all, Gu Jingze was around to help Lin Che keep watch, so she probably didn't need to worry too much on that side. But she wanted to keep a watch on this brat here. The girl was too rash and Yu Minmin couldn't put her mind at ease. It would be fine if she was merely pure-hearted and ignorant. But if there was some other problem, that wouldn't be good. She also naturally hoped that she was just an innocent lass who just entered the real world and was being restless. When Lin Che returned home, she saw Chen Yucheng there. "Dr. Chen." "Oh, Mrs. Gu. Don't worry, I'm just here to do a routine checkup." "Oh, go ahead then." Chen Yucheng said, "Since President Gu is with you now, he basically doesn't need his medication anymore. I'm really worried that I might be laid off one day." Sigh. "Ha, Dr. Chen is so talented and there are plenty of people who want you. Why would you be laid off?" Just then, Gu Jingze came out from inside and saw the two of them talking. He looked at Chen Yucheng. Chapter 375, Better help Shen Yoren solve this. Chen Yucheng quickly said, "President Gu, I didn't say anything. You don't need to stare at me like that." Gu Jingze glared forcefully at him and then said to Lin Che, he's full of nonsense these days. Let's go. Just ignore him. As he spoke, Gu Jingze put his hand around Lin Che's shoulders. At this moment, Chen Yucheng's phone rang. Lin Che turned her head and Chen Yucheng said to Gu Jingze, it's not that I want to pick up phone calls, President Gu. I'm aware that I'm not supposed to take any calls during work hours, but this is Shen Yoren's call. Can I answer it? Seeing that it was Lin Che's friend, Gu Jingze rolled his eyes and silently consented. Chen Yucheng smiled and thought, indeed, when it comes to Lin Che's matters, he is much more relaxed. Chen Yucheng picked up the call. What is it now? What, your sister? Chen Yucheng's expression changed. Lin Che quickly stepped forward, what happened? Chen Yucheng put down the phone and said, Shen Yoren's sister got into trouble. Shen Yoren didn't expect Shen Yulin to owe more than 100,000 and get taken away now. This Shen Yulin had always been spoiled at home. She was fed and served well. She already got everything she wanted as long as it was within the family's means, but now, she's still. Lin Che and Chen Yucheng quickly rushed over. Looking at Lin Che, Shen Yoren ran to her, how come you're here too? Lin Che said, Dr. Chen happened to be at my place. Why didn't you tell me that your sister got into trouble? I didn't want to trouble you. You already have so much on your plate and your movie is picking up pace. Lin Che patted her shoulder, okay. Tell us what is going on and what exactly happened first. Shen Yoren said anxiously, I suddenly received a call from home telling me that Shen Yulin was taken away. Those people claim to be from the usury. I don't know when Shen Yulin borrowed a few hundred thousands from them. My family doesn't know how to repay the money now, so they could only call me. A few 100,000, Lin Che knew that this sum was not a small amount to an ordinary family. Furthermore, Shen Yulin was just a student. Why would she borrow so much money? Shen Yoren said, exactly. I'm really depressed now. I don't know how she could be so brazen. I really want to just leave her be and figure out how to repay the money on her own. This is so annoying. Alright, if you don't care, what will your parents do? Let's see what we can do about it now. Usury is illegal, to begin with. Maybe I should make a police report, Shen Yoren said. But Chen Yucheng stopped Shen Yoren, enough. If you go to the police now, what if they do something bad to your sister? What would you do then? Then. Give me your phone, I'll handle it. Chen Yucheng reached out and took her phone. Chen Yucheng took the phone, looked at the number, and made a call. He instructed the person on the other side, please check this number and the common area it is used in. See who exactly these guys are to be brazen enough to simply take someone away. He put down the phone and said to Shen Yoren, these kinds of people who can simply take someone away must have some kind of background. In C Nation, there are not many usuries who have such power and can take people away like that. Just wait, we'll know the details of these guys soon enough. Shen Yoren nodded, I'm not particularly anxious either. They just want money and my mother will repay the money and get Shen Yulin back no matter what it takes. But I'm really angry to the point that I simply don't want to care about this anymore. I'm only worried about how my parents will deal with it if anything happens to her during this period. Lin Che comforted her, okay, don't worry. It'll be fine. She stole glances at Chen Yucheng and then at Shen Yoren. Once Chen Yucheng went out to continue making calls, Lin Che then lowered her voice and looked at Shen Yoren, hey, tell me. What is going on between you and Dr. Chen? Shen Yoren froze, what do you mean? Come on, are you still trying to lie to me? There is definitely something between you and Dr. Chen. Something cropped up on your end and you chose to call Dr. Chen instead of me. Quick, tell me, what exactly is going on between you two? Shen Yoren's face was bright red as she appeared stumped and unsure of what to say. Hurry up, leniency to those who confess, severity to those who resist. If you're not going to tell me, I'm going to ask Dr. Chen, she said and pretended to get up. Shen Yoren pulled her down anxiously, fine, I'll say it. Shen Yoren's hand circled, I have recently been working with him often. I was initially working at GU Industries. And then gradually, he told me that I'm very capable in this aspect. He hoped that I would become his assistant. Ah, so have you left GU Industries then? Not yet, it's just that I've gone on work trips with him and saw some psychology study cases. We even helped conduct psychological research on criminals and things like that. Anyway, we're basically working together every day. Wow, you're actually so close now, even I'm getting jealous, Lin Che pouted her lips and said. Okay, anyway, I also thought from the beginning that he was just a superior with a poisonous tongue. He was so annoying and always making me do this and that every day. But after working with him, I realized that he's actually very capable. He's a good doctor who is well respected in his field and a national expert in all kinds of mental illness. Many people see him as a legend, and I also learned a lot by working with him. Even though I'm just barely scratching the surface, it already makes me feel very happy. Right, I also thought that he's actually rather good to you. Honestly, I didn't expect you to work with Dr. Chen from the moment you entered GU Industries. Shen Yoren said. Actually, besides Chen Yucheng being a little too withdrawn, sharp-tongued, foul-mouthed and troublesome, he's alright in other areas. But we just have this work relationship. Please don't let your mind wander, and if you really ask, I'll be so embarrassed. Lin Che rarely saw Shen Yoren look so dainty. She laughed and leaned on Shen Yoren. Fine, 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 I won't ask. But you're with him every day, hee hee. You might become his favorite person. Okay, get lost. Stop talking. Chen Yucheng was back and Shen Yoren hurriedly stopped Lin Che. Lin Che pressed her lips together and sniggered, not saying anything else. Chen Yucheng's expression was grave. He looked at the two of them and said, "We identified them. Sure enough, it's those guys." Shen Yoren looked up. Who? C Nation's notorious Green Party. It's an underworld gang. They commit all kinds of crimes, but because they are very sly, it's difficult to govern them. Ah, what are we going to do then? Chen Yucheng said, "Don't worry for now. I've called an inspector whom I'm familiar with. Some others are also going to take a look. We'll hear from them soon. Your sister was most likely taken to an underground warehouse, and it's not the first time they've kept someone there. But I have to tell you something first." Chapter 376. There is actually such an outrageous thing. Chen Yucheng looked at Shen Yoren and appeared rather unsettled. Shen Yoren's heart paused, but she still looked at Chen Yucheng and said, "Just say what you want to say. It's okay, I can take it. This thing is all caused by Shen Yulin anyway. She should bear the consequences of her own misdeeds." Chen Yucheng said, "These people won't shy away from any crime. When it comes to not returning the money, they'll sell girls out as prostitutes to earn the money. And at the underground warehouse, she might have already been fixed." Shen Yoren heard this and her heart naturally sank. Even though her relationship with her sister was not that good, she was still her sister after all. But she only thought for a while and said, "Nothing else matters as long as she can return." Lin Che also understood what he meant by fixed. Her heart grew uncomfortable and she thought that these people were way too villainous. But it was indeed more important that she returned. Chen Yucheng said, "The GU family's bodyguards have already been dispatched. They are very speedy and should be able to locate their position in no time." Shen Yoren nodded and looked at both of them. "Thank you, guys. There's no reason to thank us. We're all family," Lin Che said. Not long after, the GU family's bodyguards outside walked in and politely greeted Lin Che. "Madam, we've found them." "Okay, we'll go over." Shen Yoren quickly stopped Lin Che. "It's dangerous there. You wait here, I can go by myself." "It's okay, I'm only going to look." "Of course not. Don't talk about anything else. What if someone takes a photo of you there? I'm only going there to retrieve my sister. With the GU family's people there, they wouldn't be able to do anything to me, right?" Chen Yucheng also said, "I will go." Lin Che was a lot less worried about Chen Yucheng. She heard this and nodded. The two of them quickly reached the place. Shen Yoren saw that many people indeed already gathered. There were police officers and the GU family's bodyguards. Inside was a bald man standing there. He looked at Shen Yoren and Chen Yucheng. "Ha, I didn't expect that catching someone today would drag in relations too. This luck is really bad." Shen Yoren asked directly, "Where is my sister? We can still discuss the money, but she must come back with us." "Will you give us money if she goes back with you?" the bald-headed man asked. Chen Yucheng said, Tell me the truth. How much did she borrow? How did it roll to a few hundred thousands? Hey, understand this clearly. She borrowed a few hundred thousand. The capital is a few hundred thousand and coupled with the interest, it is 520,000. What? Chen Yucheng looked at Shen Yoren. Shen Yoren also couldn't believe what a student needed that much money for. Chen Yucheng replied, we can return you the money she borrowed, but you can forget about the interest. Hey, that's not how we do things here. My brothers worked hard and they need some food on their plates, the bald-headed man said unhappily. Chen Yucheng said, it is a given to return what is owed, but the interest is illegal. I believe that you don't wish to make things difficult either. If you challenge us, nothing good will come out of it for all of us. We don't need to fight like that. You have plenty of profitable places and you don't need to clash with us here. It's only a few thousands. It should be nothing to you guys. Hey, you make it sound so easy, but these are our rules. How can we function if you do this? Very well, if anyone asks why you broke the rules, tell them to come and find me. I will tell them why I have the right to break the rules. The bald man froze, looked at Chen Yucheng, and then looked at the people around him. He turned his head, said something to his people, and then turned back, all right, we'll return the girl to you. Shen Yoren looked at Chen Yucheng in surprise, are they really giving my sister up so easily? Chen Yucheng said, they had the cheek to talk about rules with the Gu family. They have to make up for that. Ah okay, Shen Yoren said. The bald man could only let Shen Yulin be brought out. She indeed looked like she had been tortured. She looked insane, dirty, and in just an overall mess. The moment she saw Shen Yoren, she quickly screamed, sis, save me. Save me please. Shen Yoren felt congested. She watched as the police bring her over and took her into the car. Shen Yoren then went along with them. Chen Yucheng looked around. He let the two sisters have space to themselves. Since he didn't want to be in the same vicinity as Shen Yulin, he hopped into his own car. Shen Yoren quickly took a wet towel and wiped Shen Yulin's dirty face. Now that she was safe, Shen Yoren angrily endured the urge to strangle Shen Yulin and asked her, what the hell did you do? Shen Yulin pouted and looked at Shen Yoren, and nothing, I only borrowed money to buy some stuff, but I couldn't return the money. I asked for money from you yesterday, but you didn't want to give it to me. You asked for a few hundred thousand. Don't you think I would be crazy to give it to you? Don't you have Chen Yucheng? He's filthy rich but you refused to give me the money. Because of you, As she spoke, Shen Yulin covered her face and wailed pitifully. Shen Yoren looked at her hatefully. There were still so many loopholes, you borrowed so much money. Where did it go? Don't tell me you used it to gamble. I only bought 2 bags and I bought some makeup products and some shoes and clothes. 2 bags cost that much? Do you think I'd believe you? I bought Chanel bags. Each one costs over 30,000. Shen Yoren nearly wanted to vomit blood. Very soon, she was brought to the hospital for a detailed examination. Lin Che arrived in time. Seeing Shen Yoren looking unwell, she walked over and held Shen Yoren's hand. All right, she's already back with us. We can talk about other things next time. Shen Yoren nodded. On the way, she already called Lin Che and told her how Shen Yulin spent so much money. She was furious and incredulous at the same time. She is just a schoolgirl and she actually bought such expensive bags, Shen Yoren said. I don't even know how to explain it to my parents. Just then, the doctor walked out and said to Shen Yoren, she was probably assaulted last night. Shen Yoren's heart instantly tightened up. But the doctor continued, however, her hymen was already damaged for a long time. It's an old injury, so it's not a serious problem for her body. Shen Yoren's jaw dropped. She couldn't believe it even more. She was only 17. Shen Yoren took a deep breath before snapping back to reality. She said to Lin Che, if my mom knows about it, she'll be driven mad. She was always treated like a treasure since she was young. Her mom always thought that she was good in her studies, had good looks, and had everything she wanted. She would definitely have a great future, but who would have thought that behind that image? Chapter 377. I didn't expect him to change like this too. Lin Che could only comfort Shen Yoren at the side. When the two of them went in, Shen Yulin had already washed. She was lying on the bed and playing with her phone. When she saw Lin Che, she immediately stood up. Wow, Lin Che, Lin Che. You're so famous now, can I take a picture with you? Shen Yulin glared at her, you still have the cheek to take pictures. You figure out a way to answer to your parents. I'm not going to help you cover up anything. I will tell mom and dad every single detail of everything you did. Shen Yulin looked at Lin Che and then at Shen Yulin. She frowned and said, sis, please don't tell mom and dad. They are such old prudes that they won't understand these kinds of things. Yes, I'm also an old prude, so I don't get it either. Why would you spend 30,000 to buy a bag? Are you very wealthy? You are just a student. You have no money and you actually went to borrow money. Do you even have a brain? If you bought the bag with your own money, that would be no problem. But you borrowed money with usury to buy a bag, what are you thinking? And you're only 17, what have you done to have actually slept with men? Shen Yulin looked speechlessly at Shen Yulin and said rather impatiently, sis, what era are we in now? Who cares about that anymore? I have many classmates who already had numerous boyfriends. Their boyfriends all buy bags for them. I'm not as lucky as you to be able to know Chen Yucheng. I'm not as lucky as Lin Che to be such a big shot. I can only borrow money with usury to buy my bags. What else can I do? I already told everyone that my sister is friends with Chen Yucheng and Lin Che. You are loaded while I still have to carry that rubbish brand bag. It's just not right. You. Shen Yulin was enraged once again. But Shen Yulin didn't seem to care at all. She looked at Lin Che enviously, Sister Che, you always came over to play when you were young. Who would have thought that you'd become a big star now? You even had rumors with Gu Jingze. Oh my god, I simply love Gu Jingze too much. And I like you too, Sister Che. Can you see if there's any possibility that I can act in some small role in your show? I actually really want to go into acting. Get lost, Shen Yulin. Stop daydreaming and think about your confinement at home tomorrow and how you're going to repay that 150,000. What, I still need to repay it? Shen Yulin said depressingly. They are so rich that they can simply drop it. It's only 150,000. It's nothing to them. Is a friend of yours not worth 150,000? We are friends and they have more than us, but that is their money. I won't take their money for granted just because they have more money than me. The same goes for you. You can't think that way. Just then, Chen Yucheng walked in from behind and looked at Shen Yulin. Alright, if there's nothing, we should go. There are visiting hours and we should let her rest first. Lin Che also said, yeah, let's go. Shen Yulin was still looking at Lin Che and wanted to say something. However, Shen Yulin glared at her. Shen Yulin angrily watched them leave. She sat there and continued using her phone. She even took a sneak shot of Lin Che and posted it on her Weibo to show off, saying that she saw Lin Che and she even knew her since they were young. People mocked her and said, didn't you already say that your sister is friends with Lin Che? You claim that she's even close to Chen Yucheng, but we've never seen you out with them. Shen Yulin was burning up inside. It was a pity that she wasn't as lucky as her sister and knew someone who would become a big shot in the future. She naturally also couldn't have known that Lin Che would one day become so capable. If it wasn't for Lin Che, how could her sister get to know someone like Chen Yucheng? When Lin Che and the others went out, Chen Yucheng said, there are many things that are out of your control. She is now at the age where her mind is dominated by hormones. Anything you say is useless. It's as if she is running on adrenaline and her brain is always in an excited state. She takes things that should be thought about for granted, but outsiders can immediately tell that it's wrong. However, it's no use to advise her. She can only rely on herself to come out of this. Shen Yulin could only nod her head. I just didn't expect her to already pursue branded or luxury goods now. Forget it. I know this sister of mine has been spoiled rotten since she was young. Even if my parents regret it, there's nobody else to blame. Even if she regrets in the future, there's also nobody else to blame. The three of them decided to eat together. While on the road, Gu Jingze called to check in on them. He had actually already asked his men and knew that it was already settled. However, he still wanted to call. Lin Che quickly ate and hurried home. Shen Yulin looked at Chen Yucheng and said, these two are really getting close recently. Don't tell me they're taking it seriously. It has definitely already been serious. But in the end, whether or not they really, who knows? Shen Yoren still didn't quite understand his words when Chen Yucheng interrupted her. All right. Let's go back to the office. Okay, thank you for today. Shen Yoren looked at Chen Yucheng and said. Yes, if you're really grateful. He turned his head. The translation of all the documents today will be yours. He was really such an exploiter, taking full advantage of this. At the GU residence, Lin Che told Gu Jingze everything that happened. In the study room, Gu Jingze sat behind the desk and read a book while listening to Lin Che ramble non-stop. Lin Che said, who would have thought that Chen Yucheng would be so close to Yoren? Gu Jingze replied, indeed. He actually has a very weird personality. He's not easy to get close to. Really, I thought that he was rather alright. Every time Lin Che met him, he was always very warm to her. Gu Jingze said, he's a world-renowned psychological expert and also an expert on mental illness. His predecessors were models of the medical profession. He is extremely prideful and also has a weird character. He never really liked to interact with people. When I first told him about my special illness, I said that it was both mental and physical. It was more challenging and unique, and that's only why he agreed to it. Otherwise, he actually wouldn't care about his remuneration. I see. I thought he was very easy to get close to, Lin Che said in surprise. Gu Jingze looked at her and said, he is not a bad person and if you really get close to him, he will treat you well. It's just not that easy to really get close to him. That's why I'm also very surprised that he is now so close to your friend. Yes, but they are working together now. So I guess it's only natural. Indeed, as his assistant. That's right. Oh, then that's even more surprising, he remarked. Chapter 378, Meeting an Old Friend in Paris. Lin Che asked, why? Gu Jingze replied, because, in the past, his first assistant was a nice girl too. They were apparently classmates too, but during one of their trips abroad, she died in a car explosion. What? Lin Che said in surprise, there is such danger in his work. That was long ago. Back then, our security was not that strong yet. After being attacked multiple times, we slowly built up our security. Anyway, he never had an assistant since then. Gu Jingze said, I'm very surprised to see that he can accept someone as an assistant. But perhaps this development is headed to a positive direction. Yes. Also, Yoren is actually very smart. She is a better learner than me. She went abroad to study directing. She studied translation here and she has 2 degrees in chemistry. She's considered a philomath too. She just lacks experience. Lin Che secretly felt that Chen Yucheng and Shen Yoren's relationship could possibly develop into something else. The next day, Lin Che told Gu Jingyu that she was prepared to go to the Paris Fashion Week with him. Gu Jingyu said, now that's more like it. Very soon after, the crew pushed aside some time. Although they were busy and working tirelessly, Paris Fashion Week was an important journey. Thus, the crew was very understanding. Song Shuai didn't go this time. She had been there a few times as a brand ambassador. This time, she was too lazy to be that active again. Thus, she stayed behind with the crew and continued filming her parts. Lin Che and Gu Jingyu were headed for Paris. On the plane, they sat at the front together. The stewardess already saw them. When she came up to serve drinks, she kept staring at them. Looking at Gu Jingyu, the air stewardess smiled but dared not say anything. Lin Che saw this and asked, what's the matter? Do you want to take a picture with Gu Jingyu? The air stewardess heard this and was extremely surprised. She quickly asked, can I really? Gu Jingyu frowned. The air stewardess was apprehensive again. Lin Che went up to him and said, come on, Gu Jingyu. It's just a photo. Let's take one together. The air stewardess quickly whipped out her phone and stood behind both of them. Gu Jingyu was unwilling, but he still obliged. The air stewardess was elated. She said to Lin Che, thank you. Everyone says that you're very warm. Sure enough, you are very warm. Then, she looked at Gu Jingyu again. Jingyu is also very warm too. The air stewardess laughed dryly and quickly retreated before Gu Jingyu could look up with his dark eyes. The plan was taking off soon and all phones had to be turned off. Lin Che asked Gu Jingze, "What's the matter? Isn't it just a photo? You're so bothersome. You're the one being bothersome. How can you bear to reject such a cute stewardess?" "I can." As the two of them chatted along the way, the stewardesses looked at them and secretly talked amongst themselves, saying that the two of them really looked very close. After they alighted the plane, the air stewardess even specially said on Weibo that she met Lin Che and Gu Jingze on the plane who were going to the fashion week. Lin Che was a very nice person who took the initiative and asked if she wanted a picture. Gu Jingze was trying to keep a low profile and was dragged by Lin Che to take a picture. He kept glaring at Lin Che, but Lin Che pretended not to see. When everyone thought about that image, they wanted to die of laughter. Thus, discussions started online saying that it was beyond interesting that Gu Jingze and Lin Che were two opposite poles. If only they could continue working together. Some also noticed that they were going to the fashion week and were already summarizing the list of people going to the fashion week this year. Although they just got to Paris, all these were already starting to get noticed within the country. Yu Minmin saw the news and thought that it was boring. However, the search rate for Paris Fashion Week was indeed quite high. The attention on the Fashion Week was really amazing. Lin Che and Gu Jingze reached Paris early. Gu Jingze checked into the hotel and immediately went off to meet people. Lin Che only stayed in her room to unpack. She heard that Yu Minmin and Yang Lingxin were going out for a walk. Although they didn't get much sleep the previous night, they were still very excited as it was their first time being so far away from home. The three ladies unpacked together and left the room. The one good thing about being overseas was that Lin Che didn't have to worry about being recognized on the streets. Thinking about this made her feel especially carefree. "We are overseas, Sister Che. I feel like I'm in a dream." Yu Minmin said, "Once you've seen more of these blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, it won't feel like a dream anymore. Come on, let's go take a look at the scenery." "Okay, I want to go to the Eiffel Tower," Yang Lingxin said. Lin Che chuckled. She actually had never been here before either, so she was equally excited. However, just then, "Lin Che." An unimaginable voice came from behind. Lin Che thought she had heard wrong, but she turned around and saw Qin Qing standing behind her. Lin Che blinked and thought that it was an illusion. "Qin Qing, why are you here?" Qin Qing had a few other employees by his side. He said something to them and he quickly approached her. It was also a surprise to him, but it was a pleasant one. "Lin Che, are you staying at this hotel?" "Yes. I came here because of work and I'm also staying here." "That is such a coincidence. You're in Paris for work?" "Yes. One of my family's brands will appear in the fashion week, so I'm here to attend it." "Ah, I'm also here to attend the fashion week, but I'm just here to grace the red carpet," Lin Che smiled and said. Qin Qing looked at Lin Che as if he was scrutinizing every part of her body. After a while, he felt that Yang Lingxin and Yu Minmin were still watching them. He quickly averted his gaze and smiled at Lin Che. "You're here with your company?" "Yes. This is too much a coincidence. Shall we have a meal together later?" Qin Qing asked. Well, Lin Che wanted to say that she was going out for a walk. Just then, Gu Jingze's voice sounded from behind. "Lin Che, what are you doing here? Are you waiting for me?" Lin Che's face darkened. She turned to him. "Why are you here?" Qin Qing saw Gu Jingze and his expression changed. She actually came with Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze said, "Yes, I came back to retrieve something and have a meal. Have you guys eaten? If not, let's eat together." "Yeah, okay." Lin Che didn't want to eat with Qin Qing, so she quickly talked to Gu Jingze. She turned to Qin Qing apologetically, "I'm going to eat first." "Okay, contact me when you come back. My room number is 8021. You can call me there." "Okay." Qin Qing watched the group leave, remembering that he once warned her not to get too close to the Gu family. However, the people beside her today were all these Gu family members. Yang Lingxin went to the side and quickly caught up to Lin Che. She asked, "Who was that just now, Sister Che?" Chapter 379. Someone stole the spotlight on the opening of Paris Fashion Week. Lin Che's eyes shifted as she said, a good friend from my childhood. I see. Sister Che, you're good looking and the people you know are also good looking. Lin Che laughed, yes, including you. No way. Why not? You are also someone I know and you are also good looking. Gu Jingze only returned to eat. Then, he left the place. The three girls went out for the day and came back in the afternoon to prepare for tomorrow's show. Lin Che prepared 3 sets of formal attire. One was for the red carpet walk and the other 2 were for the show. There were also some street clothes that were to be delivered together. After she was done choosing her clothes, Lin Che was still resting when she heard someone knock on the door. Lin Che was puzzled, thinking that it was hotel staff. She opened the door. When she opened the door, she immediately saw Qin Qing standing there. She was surprised. Qin Qing. Lin Che, he smiled and looked inside. Can I come in? Ah, of course. Lin Che quickly stepped aside so that Qin Qing could enter. After sitting down, Qin Qing looked at her clothes which were hanging up there. They were extremely gorgeous. He said, you used to say that you wanted to act and become a star. Who would have thought that this little lady would finally become a huge star now? Lin Che thought about those days and also laughed, not at all. I'm not some huge star. Qin Qing looked at her. He knew that she already wasn't his, but he still wanted to get close to her. Lin Che also didn't mind seeing him. It was just that he hadn't been married to Lin Li for a long time. Now, it simply felt weird when they met. But when she thought about when they were young, she felt much better. They grew up together and it was different from anyone else. Qin Qing said, how come you're with Gu Jingze for this red carpet? Oh, yes. We're filming a movie together, so we came together. You're filming a movie together? His movies are always a huge hit. You'll definitely be adored this time. No way, we don't know that for sure. We're still filming and I don't want to think too much. Of course, I hope that it'll be a huge hit. It'll be best if it becomes all the rage. Qin Qing looked at her hearty smile, wondering how he never thought about her beautiful smile before. Just as Qin Qing was just about to say something, Lin Che's phone rang. Lin Che looked down and saw that it was Gu Jingze. She quickly apologized to him, took her phone, and answered it at the side. Qin Qing watched her and paused slightly. He heard her say, hey, why aren't you sleeping yet? That petite woman was full of charm. He immediately realized that the person calling was Gu Jingze. Lin Che laughed and said, get lost, no way. Lin Che's eyes curved as she said, rubbish, why are you so full of nonsense? Lin Che laughed out loud and said, fine, fine. Wait for me to come back with a souvenir for you. Qin Qing narrowed his eyes as he watched. He also felt very surprised. Was this how Lin Che and Gu Jingze interacted in their daily lives? It didn't seem like that was Gu Jingze at all. Lin Che talked for a while and then said that she needed to sleep. She put down the phone and turned to Qin Qing sheepishly. She said, I must have been on the phone for a long time. Qin Qing got up, it's fine. I was just here to see you. It's a rare occasion for us to bump into each other in such a faraway place. Break a leg at the fashion week tomorrow. I'll see you there if we get the chance. Yeah, okay. Lin Che said goodbye to him and watched him leave. She leaned against the door, reminiscing that unrequited feeling she once had for him. Now, it had also become so dull that they only needed to exchange conventional greetings. But still, that was Qin Qing, the Qin Qing who was filled with sunshine in her memories. She hoped that he was living a good life after leaving Lin Li. The next day. The red carpet show was of utmost importance out of everything. Lin Che and Yu Minmin stood outside together. Lin Che saw that there were so many handsome lads and beautiful ladies. There were big shots from many countries and the atmosphere felt completely different from back home. This made Lin Che rather nervous. Gu Jingze gave her access to enter the event. However, Gu Jingze had to sit in the same car as someone else and couldn't accompany Lin Che. This made Lin Che even more nervous. She sat in the car and fidgeted with her hands as she said, if I embarrass myself this time, I'm going to become a national embarrassment. Is my dress all right? It's not going to fall off as I walk, right? Yu Minmin said, that's enough. If you can really make it fall, The headlines will definitely be yours back home. Huh, don't frighten me. I told you that this kind of tube top dress can fall off easily. Alright, what are you nervous about? Besides a few faces from our country, you don't know anyone else. There's nothing to worry about. The media from other countries usually don't take photos of celebrities from our country. They see us just like how we see them. They can't differentiate who we are. You're right. Lin Che pulled the dress up at her chest again and looked at her invitation card. This can't be a fake, right? If I go there and I'm refused in, not going on the red carpet after all that talk would be such an embarrassment. Enough. Gu Jingze wouldn't possibly give you a fake card. Quick, let's go. Yu Minmin didn't let her mind wander and dragged her out of the car. They went through a verification procedure and then went in. The red carpet outside was filled with stars, but it wasn't a big deal to Lin Che because she indeed didn't recognize any of them. At this moment, she saw a few familiar faces outside who were also from C Nation's entertainment circle. Lin Che asked in a puzzled tone, "What are those people standing outside for?" Yu Minmin said, "They should be the ones who are nervous. They don't have invitation cards and are just carpet moochers. They can't enter, so they just take a photo outside and have a glimpse of fame." I see. At the same time, their home country was also focused on the movement of the Fashion Week. Some carpet moochers were already posting street photos. The Fashion Week street photos made many netizens discuss and compare who was more fashionable. Meanwhile, everyone was waiting at the red carpet. The list of names showed that there would be many celebrities on the red carpet. Everyone was waiting to see who exactly would really be able to walk on the red carpet and who was only here as a carpet moocher. Just then, some reporters in front already exclaimed, "Is that Qin Wanwan?" Lin Che responded to the name and looked up. She immediately saw Qin Wanwan decked out in a beautiful red dress. She appeared on the red carpet. Her retro dress was redesigned to have a huge bare back and a long trail. She was extremely outstanding on the red carpet. She turned and smiled, waving to the reporter. Some overseas reporters also pointed their cameras at her. Lin Che couldn't help but be amazed. Wow, she's definitely going to make the headlines. She was indeed very outstanding. The main point was that she looked good. If she stood out badly, she would have definitely been scolded. However, her entire look was really extremely gorgeous. Chapter 380. The situation turned around so shockingly. Qin Wanwan was definitely worthy of her name. Lin Che looked down at her watermelon red gown. Subconsciously, she thought that she was no doubt a coward for not daring to prepare some flamboyant gown. She had been scolded so much that she was afraid that she would again be criticized for such a thing. Thus, all this while, she did not really dare to stand out. Just then, Qin Wanwan turned around to smile from inside, her charm displayed to the fullest. With her long dress trailing after her, she walked in slowly and stopped every now and then to take a photo. Everywhere she went, the lights shone on her and she was the focus of attention. It was difficult to not be envious of her. She signed the board before finally disappearing from the red carpet. Next up, however, was Lin Che. In comparison, Lin Che was much more subdued. When a reporter called out her name, she tilted her head and smiled at him in greeting. Reporters from foreign media outlets were also photographing her very politely and smiling while looking at her. Lin Che responded to every one of them. The dress she was wearing was neither long nor short. Attached to her watermelon red dress was a black tube top. The dress was made of some slightly glossy material and was filled with some beautiful colors below, bringing out the whiteness and softness of her skin. The cinch at the waist made her waist appear very slim and very beautiful. However, she definitely seemed much more proper than Qin Wanwan. Very soon after, she entered and immediately saw Qin Wanwan waving at her. "Hey, Lin Che, you came to Paris too. Why didn't you let me know beforehand? I didn't know you were coming too. I'm here as a brand ambassador. I'm representing Korea. What about you? Why are you here?" Lin Che said, "I guess you can say that I came just to walk the red carpet. I'm not representing any brand." "Ah, then how did you get in?" "I just asked someone for an invitation." "I see. That's fine too. It's quite difficult to get in, mainly because we don't really have connections overseas, so we can't get invitations. Look, there are so many people still walking the red carpet. They can't come in even though they want to. Yes, Lin Che smiled and said. Gathering her dress together, she said, all right, I'll go change my outfit first. I've really had enough of this dress. I'm going to go mad if I continue wearing it. All right, go. After they separated, Lin Yu received the schedule for the fashion show. Although she did not really understand what was so appealing about fashion shows, she nevertheless looked at it carefully. In any case, she would definitely be watching the show with Gu Jingze, so she did not really care exactly which show it was. Qin Wanwan finished changing and came back to tell Lin Che that she had been officially invited by Kadia to watch Kadia's show. She was also planning to watch Lafayette and Chanel's shows. In short, all the shows she had chosen were shows from big brands. Lin Che did not know which ones she wanted to watch. She could only say, I'll see how things go. Qin Wanwan said, you're so silly. It wasn't easy for your company to send you here either. Of course, you must choose the few shows that are worth watching. Many media outlets and famous people attend the shows of the big brands, so there'll be many articles on them as well. Naturally, you should go and watch those shows. But it's quite difficult to get invitations to these shows and there's no point in getting a seat at the back either since the cameras won't even capture you. Lin Che said, yes. Anyway, I heard that they've already settled the matter. Qin Wanwan said, you're simply too lackadaisical. You don't care about anything at all. You're too lazy. Lin Che could only shrug in response. It's because I'm not really familiar with these things. It's better to just let the professionals handle them. Qin Wanwan sighed while shaking her head as if she was exasperated at Lin Che's failure to live up to her expectations. Yu Minmin only spoke after Qin Wanwan left, looks like she got a front row seat for the Chanel show. Beside her, Yang Lingxin asked, is it difficult to get? Yu Minmin nodded. Chanel is an extremely popular brand, so it's not that easy to get an invitation to a show. Yu Minmin continued to explain to Yang Lingxin, we came to attend the opening event and to walk the red carpet. All of the shows for today will be in the afternoon. Invitation cards are separately given for the opening event, but each runway show after that is where everyone starts to compete. There are invitation cards for the entire fashion show and each brand gives out its own invitation cards to its show. It may be easy for some ordinary people to get invitation cards, but most of them will sit in the back rows. Then, there are some less popular brands for which invitation cards are easy to get, but there won't be much attention on their shows. For big brands like Chanel, they would have given the front seats to a few famous people a long time ago. It would be very difficult for other people to get front row seats. Even getting seats at the back would be pretty difficult. Thus, Qin Wanwan came here just to say that she received invitations from Chanel and Kadia. Hearing this, Yang Lingxin instinctively said in anger, in that case, did that Qin Wanwan only come here to boast? Yu Minmin raised her eyebrows and kept silent. Yang Lingxin said, seriously, is there anything to boast about? That's enough. Let's go. We have to wait for Gu Jingze. That afternoon, Gu Jingze finally arrived. He took Lin Che with him and they entered the venue together with a foreigner. While walking, the two of them conversed in fluent English and Gu Jingze even explained the conversation to Lin Che at the same time. We've chosen 3 shows to watch over these few days. There's no need to watch any of the other shows. We'll spend the remaining time having fun. Yes, whatever you say. That's a good girl. When this ends, I'll take all of you to eat something delicious. Thereafter, people continued to stream in to attend the Fashion Week. They came with the intention of watching other shows and left after just taking a few street snaps. Along with Gu Jingze, Lin Che attended one show from LV and one show from Chanel. She even saw Qin Wanwan at the Chanel show. She was sitting just opposite Lin Che. When she saw Lin Che, she asked surprisedly, so you were going to watch the Chanel show? Lin Che said, yes. At first, I didn't know either. So you came with Gu Jingze? No wonder. He can get tickets to any show, Qin Wanwan said while looking at Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze merely looked back at her. Some of the people watching the show were dressed in particularly strange clothes. They were supposedly people in the fashion industry and people in street photography. In order to fit in, Lin Che had chosen a more gender-neutral piece of clothing and was very fashionable too. On the other hand, Qin Wanwan's clothing was even weirder. It was extraordinarily colorful and matched Chanel's colors this year very well. Qin Wanwan looked at the two of them meaningfully before shifting her gaze back to the runway. The runway shows of the big brands were all scheduled towards the end as the main events. After they ended, the show ended as well. Over here, everyone was busy watching the show and taking street snaps. Back home, there was a lot of discussion of the celebrities who were attending the fashion week. First and foremost, Qin Wanwan's gown had made its appearance at the wine reception and made everyone gasp in awe. So many people were praising Qin Wanwan online. They said that Qin Wanwan was really too beautiful to the point that she inspired the admiration of even the foreign reporters. In comparison, Lin Che took up a much smaller space in the papers for the first day. Although she was beautiful, her outfit was ultimately a very typical one without any unusual elements. The articles had different things to say about the different celebrities who watched the show. Among them, there were people who had especially stood out and were praised. There were also people who had not really stood out but had taken up some space in the papers and got some exposure.